What's going on? What's going on, Mr. YouTube? What's going on? Good people, good fellas. Let's go. How are y'all doing, man? Please let me know in the chat if you can hear me. During our playback yesterday, and I think this is because I hadn't been on for a few days, I noticed there was a bit of audio issues. It looks like I've been able to fix it. So let me know if we're good, because I'm going to keep it right here if this is what it is. Salute to you, KF. We are, like yesterday, there were some FBAs in the chat that were mocking the views. But as you can see, they are scrambling. Okay. Just one Tariq video and they are scrambling. And they're about to get even more. And then wait till the feds. Wait till the feds get a hand on him. Wait till the feds get a hold of Tariq Nasheed. That is when it's gonna be checkmate. Okay. Right now we're just playing game. We're just running circles around them. These are kids, man. These are little people. But let's get to this video without further ado. I hope you guys are all doing great. We're going to lay off that Tariq video for a few weeks. Let's see how it gets dissected. The clips will start flowing on the channel by tomorrow. So you start seeing some clips going in on both channels. Okay, because I'm going to engage the other channel too. So we're just going to get to push it out. We're just going to get to push it out. Okay. All right. So if you look at the oh, that dude did. All right. We might be able to catch it, man. Did he do a part 2 reaction to what I just did, like a little pushback, or he did a part 2 based on what he was doing? He's too little, man. Okay, so he did a part 2 based on the reaction that we did. Did it sound like he wanted some more ass whooping? Because if he wants some more ass whooping, I could give it to him, man. I'm sure he saw the Tariq video today. He probably doesn't want some of this Nana Koko Invitational. I don't think he wants it, man. He's too small. Give me the big guys. Give me the big guys. Now let's hear this. See, KF sent me this video. I don't watch this guy because I think he's boring. He's full of shit. He's confused. Oh, he wants to okay. I'm gonna give him another punch. We'll probably give him a whole show. We'll give him a whole show. We will give him a whole show, man. We will give him a whole show. All right, let's see what this idiot has to say. And then we, as usual, what we do, we're gonna give it that beautiful reaction. All right, that beautiful reaction. Let's go. Also, let me know if you guys can hear the playback once it starts. Right here.
Black Americans were the most married group of people in America. By 1965 and beyond, we were still up there. But somewhere after 1965, we saw a dramatic fall off. It was in that year in 1965 that the United States passed a law called the immigration law. I'm going to call it the immigration equality law. And it began to allow African immigrants and Caribbean immigrants to come to the United States. And they brought with them their culture. And all of a sudden, the measurements for Black marriage began to decline. And when you move on to the 80s, it seemed as though Black men and Black women all of a sudden just weren't getting along at all. And it was in the 1980s that Black folk from all over the world began to come to the United States. Here's the thing. Could it be that these people who we consider Black in America, shout out to Narratives and Dialogues, could it be that a lot of the social issues the foundational Black Americans had now, because of lack of cohesion, are because we have absorbed all these immigrant problems? Black men don't beat up their women like that. I
Really?
put some statistics up on my page showing, if anything, back in the 1970s and 80s, it was Black men getting beat up by Black women. So my question is, these immigrant problems, because these people come from their home countries and they have some very divergent views of womanhood.
Okay, I'm gonna pause him here. I was gonna let this thing play out, but I'm gonna pause him here and correct a few things. Okay, so he starts off about their higher marital rates in the 60s and in the 70s. That is partially true. Then he starts to equate their decline in marital rates to a wave of immigrants that came from sub-Saharan Africa and the Caribbean. He's ignoring the fact that that trend still continues till today. These groups, the Caribbean group and the African groups, till this very day, are still highly married. We are married in America at a much higher rate than them till this very day. So how does this logically make sense? If we brought to America a culture that beats women, a culture that diminishes women, a culture that doesn't support marriages, then why are we still more married today than Black Americans? That is completely untrue. It's not holding water, because we are today currently more married than Black Americans. Every group is. The Latinos are, the Africans are, the Indians are. So that is not true. There's no connection with Black American culture and African and Caribbean culture. These people just never mixed up. We don't live in Black neighborhoods. I've never been to one. I've just maybe driven around it. I've never been to one. So this is absolutely untrue. And I do these videos also to kind of educate them, because I know they are looking for answers. Okay. So today I'm not even mad at it. I'm not mad at it. I know they are looking for answers. But we are not their problem, because these two groups do not integrate. We do not integrate with Black Americans. We don't. I have never gone to lunch or dinner with a Black American. Never have. I have never gone to lunch or dinner with a Black American in 20-some years. So there is no cultural integration amongst us. It never exists. Maybe on the East Coast in the DMV area, but most immigrant groups stay amongst themselves. Heck, even within the African groups, we don't really mix up like that. The Nigerians stay in their little corner. Sometimes they bring the Ghanaians in. The West Africans maybe stay in their little corner. The East Africans stay in their little corner. Last weekend, there was a party in Dallas that was hosted by East Africans, and it was really an East African party. Okay? Get that dude out of here. I thought KF was handling it. Because they usually just slow down, put them to sleep. So this has really nothing to do with Black immigrants. I've seen old videos of him blaming other things. Okay, I'm gonna let this video play out, and then I'm gonna start listing all the sequential things that happened. He's failed to mention some of the biggest changes that happened to Black America before even immigrants showed up. Another thing that you have to take into consideration is we have a higher marital success rate in the Caribbean and on the continent than we even have here in the US, because Western society generally does not support marriage. Even the white folks don't have great marriages in the US and in Europe. It's not a unique Black American problem. This is very intellectual, so I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to be mean to the Blacks, okay? This is not a unique Black American problem. This is a Western problem. This is a Western problem. See, the red pill guys were a little bit correct on the cause, but they didn't have solutions to it. Their solutions is exactly what they are applying to. These are all red pill people. Go back and look at all their old contents. These are all red pill guys. The solutions that they are applying to the diaspora discourse is the same way they applied to their problems with their women during the gender wars. It's the same approach. They were calling them ugly and different names and all kinds of back and forth between them and the women. They were, had labels for them and all that stuff. Same way they have labels for us in these diaspora wars now, because frankly, a lot of us are just doing a lot better, right? So, but I'm not going, again, I don't want this one to be one of my usual punch for punch, because there's a lot of learning to be had here. There's a lot of lies, okay? A few months ago, maybe 7-8 months ago on the old channel, I did a video about the welfare state and what the welfare state and the welfare system did to marriages in Black societies and in minority groups and in poorer groups. Okay, we're not gonna go back to it. If it's on the channel, you can go look for it. Maybe I'll do another video about it to explain exactly the intricacies of why this is really what I believe started the demolition process of the Black family. Okay. Another thing you also have to realize is in the West, women have jobs. Where we come from in sub-Saharan Africa and in the Caribbean, the men did all the work. The women took care of families. In 1970 Africa, those dynamics changed. If you're an African and you are listening to me, there is almost a 99% chance that your mom had a job. My mama was a school teacher. She's upstairs right now, visiting. My mom was a school teacher. My auntie, who my mom follows, was a nurse. She was a teacher first and she was a nurse. Kwame Nkrumah built a lot of teacher training colleges and nursing schools across Ghana. This is why we have an excess in teachers and nurses. And women took on these jobs in Ghana in the late 60s, early 70s. A lot of women went to nursing school and went to also teaching school. So you find that most people's wives were teachers or nurses. But these women would go to work, still come home and do some work at home or raise the kids or do certain things around the kids. The reason the Africans didn't have a huge deterioration in their parenting of their children is our economies allow us to be able to hire maids or help. Also, we tend to have extended families. So in a household, in a typical African household, and this is very common with Colombia, I noticed this in Colombia too. In a typical African household, you find that not just mom and dad are in the house, but if maybe a cousin is staying over to help to go to school, or a senior brother is maybe laid off work and is chilling out and helping out a little bit. So these things helped shape our children. So our children, when they see the way I conduct my marriage is similar to the things I saw my dad do. My dad never hit my mom. My mom is upstairs. She can attest to it. My dad never hit my mom. So therefore, I never hit my wife. This is a marriage. Are you going to have arguments? Absolutely, you're going to have arguments. But our arguments don't take it to a level of disrespect. See, these people don't know Africans. They think, this is one of the things the Red Pill did to them. The Red Pill told them that, oh, these guys in developing countries, they have control over their women, so they can do whatever they want with them. Yeah, partly true, we have some control, but it doesn't mean we disrespect our women. They misunderstood it. They think that because women submit to us, we have some universal control to let them to just abuse them. That is completely not true. No African would be married if we're this abusive. Okay, that is really not true. And this is one thing, you see, if you are not close to any African or visited an African home where there is a marriage, you just will not understand how Africans conduct marriages. And this is what they don't know. See, this is what Western media projects of us, and they don't know this about us. So they actually really, really believe this shit. And if that is true, then there's no way a lawyer would be married to me, because then I would be beating the shit out of her every day and she'd be going to the courtroom with a swollen face. That is absolutely not true. This is why I said these guys try to make excuses and there's no data to back the bullshit that they talk about. Why is black people in America blaming their problems on everybody else but themselves? This is why I usually run into issues with them. I don't blame Africa's sanitation issues on the West. I blame it on us. Okay. I don't blame Africa's hydroelectric or power generation issues on the West. I blame it on our leaders and us. It is our problem to fix. These guys don't want to be accountable for anything. People got jobs in the West. Women started going to work. And he fails to mention the same period, the crack epidemic. Men, instead of going to work, were high on dopamine. And they were not being able to take care of themselves, their children, and their wives, if they had any. You lost an entire generation of men over a 10-year span to the crack epidemic. And if you learn anything about neurology, the people that use and abuse drugs, those things affect their children too, not just socially, but also chemically in the head. Some shit goes off. Those were much bigger impacts than some Jamaican woman that moved to Queens trying to hustle, working 12-hour shifts. You guys don't know the story of these immigrants, man. I will play you another video I found on TikTok today. These guys think that we come to America and there's some benefits they give us that only we get, and that is why we excel. That is not true. When I came to graduate school in this country, I was only allowed to work 20 hours a week. You can ask anybody that knows how immigration works. And that 20 hours had to be on campus. Okay? I was a math instructor at Illinois State University, working 20 hours a week in developmental math. You can't do much with $20 20 hours a week of work, but that's what the law allows you to do. So we were even restricted from working. The federal government did not give me any special treatment to go through college. I use programs that exist for everybody else and every international student and every native student. It's called a graduate assistantship. It still exists to this very day. You have to apply to the university or the college. A professor that is interested in working with you has to accept you, that you'll be able to teach undergraduate courses, and then they'll give you an assistantship that covers your tuition. That is how most people earn their masters and their PhDs in America. It's a graduate assistantship. It is open to all people. Actually, matter of fact, when I showed up here, that was before the Supreme Court bill. So blacks even had an extra advantage that we didn't have. They had affirmative action. They were able to go to universities that if their qualifications match their white counterparts, the white guy was dropped in favor of them. Okay? And this DEI system operated in colleges and universities throughout America for many, many decades. So there has been opportunities that has been given to this population. A lot of the times in the late 90s, a lot of women took that opportunity. That is why there's more black women that ended up going to college than the men did. So while these men were jailbirds and going to prison and on crack going in and out, the women were working on building themselves through universities and colleges. This is why they got these degrees. So when these women came out of university, there was not enough men that could match their intellect for them to build relationships with. So a lawyer or a nurse or a medical doctor that is female is just not going to pick a dude that just goes in and out of jail. It doesn't work like that. They need somebody at parity. That's just how the world works, man. Have you ever seen a lawyer married to some bum? It doesn't work that way, bro. You're in the profession, you know it. If women attain higher, they want to match that attainment. And they couldn't find that in black men. This is the birth of your passport bro movement. It was a lot of low achieving men who were disappointed in themselves, frankly. And they were projecting that they can find this traditional thing overseas that they believe Africans and Latinos and all these other groups in Southeast Asia had. They thought we had this excessive dominance over our women to where the women are just going to submit even if you're a bum. That the women are going to submit if you have if you're financially indisciplined. Okay? And I always use myself as an example. I'm married to an attorney, but she does not make any financial decisions without me. My wife cannot just go tomorrow and go to a Tesla place and just buy a Tesla. But black women in America, when they're dating guys or when they're seriously in a relationship with guys, or even sometimes when they're married to guys, they will go out there and buy a car. You show up to the house, you showed up with a new car, you didn't even know about it. It's an attitude problem. Another thing that I realized, some bold Africans that decided to date black American women when we were in college those days, some of them would just dating. These are people that are just dating. They're not married. Sometimes these girls will go and just run through their bank accounts without permission and pretend like they didn't know what they were doing. It's like, you're dating the guy. You don't have to run him broke like that. So a lot of the guys started staying away from them too. They're like, no, these guys you just can't build relationships with them. And most of them built masculine attitudes because they had to take care of themselves. These men were not taking care of them. That was the problem. Let's play a little bit of his complaint. Let them blame now. So see, here's the thing. They've realized that this is the one unique problem that Caribbean people and Africans have an edge over that they can never fix. Because you can't go tell Keisha with 5 kids to all of a sudden start marrying. What is she going to do with those 5 kids? Right? It's not workable right now. It will take a few generations for this to even be possible. So this is an acknowledgement of defeat, that the Africans and the Caribbeans, they just do marriage better. They just do marriage better. And one thing I've noticed, I have a few friends. I have Eddie here and another guy in California. I have 2 friends that are married to black American women. And those black American women are very submissive. And those black American women are professionals. They have real good jobs. A nurse here, Eddie's wife is just about to finish nursing school here in McKinney. So they have an upside. But their men are killers. Their men are making deep dough. Okay? These are highly successful African men. But they've had these women that are black Americans that are supposedly, Eddie's wife is even from Chicago. So right from the south side, they're supposedly supposed to be very tough women. But they are soft, submissive, and very beautiful. So I've had to accept that it's not all the women. There are some very good women in their community. The women just can't vibe with this generation of men. And with my little experience dealing with these boys on the internet, I can always diagnose them when I see them. Like, you can't make a good husband. I know they cannot. Because there is no blueprint for them to follow. This thing is not easy, man. All these guys crying about they can't find women to build families with and have a relationship with. They're saying it to make it seem like marriage is all like sex and sleeping. No, it's not. You guys are not, you cannot do it. Majority of these men cannot do it. They don't even understand what it is. That is why when they have a child, they just skip town and leave. It takes a certain level of preparation, and you have to be taught this stuff. So instead of sitting on the internet like this Dennis Spurling guy who has failed at this process, right? Has some kids out of wedlock, failed at this process, and had to settle for a Latina, right? Because, frankly, some of these Latinas, you can boss them around like that. He should have been the start of that new cycle of black men that would fix and change this. And all of them have now moved into Tariq's column. They can't see, they need to be taught this stuff. You can see, like I said, I do marriage the same way my brother-in-laws are doing marriage, the same way my brothers are doing marriage, the same way my cousins are doing marriage. A little bit dynamic here and there, a little bit difference here and there, but the primary objective is the same. Our children are priority, and we serve a higher God. Our submission is to a higher God. So we know that we have to do certain things right. And most of these men are not ready to do those things right. They just want an easy pass. And it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that, buddy.
If you want to keep it 100, talk to some of these people and ask some of these women how they're treated in their homeland. Look at some of this crime going on in these Caribbean countries. I'm just saying. I bet if you began to do the balloon pop, if you began to have these people fill out a questionnaire as to where their people came from before they're allowed to open their mouth and speak on Black American issues, I bet we would find out a lot. We would have a better photo, a better picture of who's making these statements and why. You had a bad experience with your daddy because your mama, because your daddy was a Jamaican man and your mama was from Barbados and your daddy used to whoop up on your mama. So now you grow up angry with black men, and foundational Black American men had nothing to do with that. We were the most married group of people in America before all these African immigrants came over here, before all these Caribbean immigrants came over here. And they had to reckon with the fact that now they have this freedom. You got Caribbean women and African women who've never been free in their life in their own country. And now they get over here and all they have to do is call 911 and they can get their Dexter St. Jock hauled away by some white men. I'm just saying, this might be something I need to dig into. We might need to look up the DV rates before 1965 and after 1965. We might need to look up the divorce rate amongst foundational Black Americans before 1965 and after 1965. I'm just saying. Because I do know for certain that it's a lot of crimes being committed in Florida, especially South Florida and New York and New Jersey, that don't have anything to do with foundational Black Americans. They look black, but they're not black like me. They're not Mississippi black. They're not Louisiana black. They're not Alabama, Arkansas black. They're not East Texas black. They're not North Kakalaka, South Kakalaka black. They're not black like, they're not Tennessee black. They Lagos black. They Kingston black. They're Trinidad and Tobago black. And they brought with them their culture. It's something to think about. Just something to think about.
So if we brought with us our culture, and our culture was abusive, our culture was beating our women, and these women are now living in the US where they can sue us for beating them, they can sue us for domestic violence. Mind you, these African women in the US are nurses, they are medical doctors, they are lawyers. You think they don't have the strength to run away, to do a divorce, take us to court? They are now at liberty to use American law. So why have they still stayed more married? How have the Hispanic guys, where they are really dominant in their cultures, still remain married? In this country, okay, I saw it today actually, the house across from me, they were cleaning. You find a Mexican guy who is a roofer. He's not even the owner of the roofing company. He's a regular roofer with the baddest looking wife you can ever see on the planet. And you'd ask yourself, how the heck does this happen? Okay. And that woman is fully submissive to the hardworking Mexican man. And that woman will bring tortilla. Right? I see it here. Maybe I should take, if not for these doxers, I'll take my GoPro around and I'll show you at lunch every day. I speak their language, so I'll interact with them. You can see it. This is 2026, and a Mexican woman that can win a beauty pageant in America today will cook tortillas and bring it to the men on top of the roof that no habla inglés. And they stay married and they raise children. This is cultural. It's got nothing. So, and it's like when we've come here, a lot of us are in our little pockets. We start with roommates. This is another story they don't talk about. We start with roommates in a small little apartment holed up in the Bronx. We're not in a black community like that. It's not out of hate. We're just not there like that. Because we're sharing apartment. We're sharing apartments to pay cheap for the first couple years before maybe some of us file for our wives to come over. So before the wife moves here, you've already gotten a bit of a leg up so you can go rent you now a nice 1-bedroom apartment. Move out of that studio you're sharing with your homeboys. Then now when your wife comes in, you can start building your little family in a little apartment. That's how a lot of Ghanaians moved to Ohio from New York, because in New York they couldn't get a house because of how expensive real estate was. So they'll start a little bit in New York, raise a little bit of money there, because New York just pays more. Then before the wife shows up from Ghana, they just go to Ohio and rent a nice townhome, 2 bedrooms for cheap. Get a little factory job in Ohio there, somewhere outside of Columbus. Work a little factory job. The wife comes in. The wife starts with CNA. I'm just giving you the general blueprint of how a lot of these guys start. The wife starts a little bit of CNA here and there, or call center job, if you are bilingual, and do that for maybe a year or two. Then the wife moves from CNA to try to get her LPN within 1 year while the husband is also working. So we juggle these same problems that you guys go through. We just manage it better. And our women remain understanding that we have a longer journey. Okay? When my wife moved here, even as a lawyer, she couldn't practice law immediately. She had to go work at Bank of America's call center. She was on the phone, working a call center job for $9 an hour. What are you guys talking about? She did that full time at $9 an hour. Okay? And then I had to help her we had my son, so I had to help her with my son whenever she goes to work. So we had to have that too. It got to a point, it was like, no, you got to stay home, because it was getting too difficult. And then she had to start taking her entrance exam, the LSAT, to go to law school here. So I had to give her some comfort for her to be able to achieve that. We help each other, because we understand that, maybe even though it's ideal to have a traditional setup for your wife to stay home and for you to do all the bills, it's just much easier if the two of you work together, because life is just a little bit expensive here. So this problem Dennis is describing is not a black immigrant problem. We face that same problem too. We just manage ours better. The women understand that we're a team, there's a common goal. How many marriages in America have joint bank accounts? I've had a joint bank account for 13 years. I don't hide a single dollar from my wife. Even when I made all the money and she wasn't working, when I made all the money and she was working a call center job, when I made all the money and she was going to law school as a student, and even when she makes a lot of money now, she can live by herself. If this game is about money, my wife doesn't need me. She doesn't need me. She makes way more money to live by herself. She doesn't need me here. She can pay all this stuff by herself. But she was able to get here because we worked together and we had a plan. And that plan is to make our lives a lot easier on both sides. If you fix that financial problem, and there's no financial stress, that makes you very comfortable. Then the next step is to manage work stress, to make sure her work is not too much, because it's a lot. So that's how we try to get a little bit of a hybrid schedule, 2 days in the week at home. Then we start thinking about the kids, how we're going to stagger the kids' schedule to make it comfortable for both of us, what activities they're going to do. All these things happen in motion, but it's two people working together. That concept is very Western. Some people don't like that because, like, oh, yeah, your wife is supposed to do all the chores and she's supposed to cook. You don't have to say it like that, because life is just completely different now. I said this maybe 6-7 months ago. You have to evolve with the times. And black men in America have not evolved. They are still trying to get a marriage and a relationship of the 1970s in 2026. Doesn't work that way. The only way it works is if you can make all the money. And because the median household income, or the median individual income in the US is under $60,000, no chick is going to stick around if you make $60,000 a year. You're going to struggle. Okay? If she goes to work, that's 120. That's at least a little bit more comfortable than 60. Okay? So embrace the change that is. These women are not going anywhere. Women will have jobs today. Salute to you, Rainbow the God. Women today will have jobs, and that is not going to change whatsoever. So you have to ask yourself this: do you want the marriage, or you just want to be called a boss and you want to be bossing women around? If that's what you want, maybe the last place on earth that exists is in Southeast Asia. Dead cheap. Move over there and boss them around and pay all the bills. This is why you guys started traveling. You were not traveling because the quality of women was bad in the US. You're traveling because you understood the dynamics had changed and it was not in your favor. Okay? And instead of working with your women, you decided to dump on them. And you said very, very mean things about them. Now you've gone to a new Tariq movement where you realize that the Africans have family over you guys. So for you to remain competitive, you have to fix that underlying problem with your women. But the question now is, can you fix that problem? And I think that is no, because to this very day, MTR is still going, mediocre tutorials and whatever. He's still going. He's still bashing on the women. Only a year ago, I found videos of you still bashing the same women before you change ideologically. Dennis Spurling has changed ideologically on the internet like somebody that didn't even go to law school. That's a sad part of it. And this money he's making on YouTube, if he wasn't an ambulance chaser and he was like really, really serious about legal practice, he shouldn't be doing this, man. That is so disrespectful of the career, the legal career. Like, like lawyers don't act like this. I'm around them every day. Okay. Mostly the white guys. Most of my wife's colleagues are white lawyers because of the firm they work for. So it's a different class that they carry, different group of men. But so far, I've not been impressed with black lawyers, like the one Corey Holcomb showed us, especially Houston. Houston has a school, Texas Southern, it's HBCU, that churns out some of the worst lawyers in Texas. And I think that's where this dude went to. Most of them, it takes them maybe 10 attempts to pass the bar exam. They are horrible like that. Let me play this out.
If for nothing else, perhaps we need to delineate for that so they can have their crime stats and we can have our crime stats. We wouldn't blame the Irish for the crimes committed.
Okay, so what this guy is trying to say is that their marriages are still really good, but maybe ours are so bad statistically that when they collect the numbers, their black families' marital rate being down is actually immigrant family marriages down, and their marriages are holding up. And that is not true. Me and you know, just from the eye test, okay? Just from the eye test, black families are not together like that. Let's just be honest about these things, man. Like this coping is extremely I wouldn't want to use the word disgusting, but it's at the level of disgust, Your families are not together like that, buddy. No, it's not.
By the Italians, would we? Even though they all fall under the umbrella of white, that's why we call it Italian street gangs and Irish street gangs. We wouldn't want to be responsible for the Zopound posse down. We don't want to be responsible for the Belizean Crips in California. No. You keep your own. Y'all can have that. That's what I'm saying. I just pointed out. Now imagine this. Are you still with me?
Okay, so with the Caribbean, because a lot of them have still like English last names, sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. I understand. But come on, with the Africans, if Africans commit crimes and they're black, it's very evident that is African. Like even our last names we give, it doesn't matter what generation. My kids are born in America, but they carry my last name. So, and their children will carry the same last name. So it's very clear for us, generation in, generation out, you can always tell where we're from. The source is always going to be there. I don't know why they think that we are influencing the stats negatively. No. Actually, I think we improve their statistics. I kind of disagree with how he's taking this. And this is also my reason why I support the delineation, because it makes this very really in your face for them to see what we've been talking about for years. Like we see it, but for some reason they seem not to see it. I don't get it.
Now imagine an alternative America in 1965 as the Immigration and Nationality Act was passed and immigration from Africa and the Caribbean surged, and Foundation of Black Americans said, hold up, we're going to delineate. Because it looked like these people are a mess. From that moment forward, we gatekeep strict cultural, legal, and institutional distinction between those who are descended from the American chattel slavery system and who can trace their heritage to a time before 1860 and the newly arrived Black immigrants. This distinction would have profoundly reshaped the landscape of American society and politics and economics for both groups. First, there would have been no immigrant hijacking of Black liberation movements. Prominent voices like Ta-Nehisi Coates and Nicole Hanna, both of them are descendants of immigrants. They would have never showed up. They would have never become national spokespersons for reparations of mass incarceration and civil rights. And we might have actually been able to get something done because we were very good at what we did before all these folk from these other places showed up. Because remember, like I said, they don't like America. I started off with that. And they don't like you as Americans. They don't even identify as Black first. They identify with whatever country they came from.
Yes, because we have an identity. Why should I identify with your confusion? That is you guys is to sort out. Why should I'm a whole Ghanaian. Why should I identify as a black, a color, when I'm a whole Ghanaian? I have a national identity. I speak languages from Ghana. I eat Ghanaian food. I'm culturally Ghanaian. I look Ghanaian because we can tell too. So why should I just leave that on the side? If you swear an oath of allegiance to the US, it doesn't mean you should take your identity away from it or your culture away from it. Have you ever seen Italian Americans say that they are not really American enough? Everybody does their very best for the US in a way they can. This is why you find immigrants in the military. I have immigrant friends in the military right now as I speak. Is that not enough allegiance to the US? These people don't understand anything. Our brother from the Caribbean that is in the moon, on the moon right now, around the moon, who is a decorated service member of the armed forces, who works at NASA, who's made people that share our skin color very proud. We're not talking about some dude that ran a marathon today. What do you say to people like that? See, you guys' jealousy, these FBA guys, I'm not talking about general black Americans here, these FBA guys, your level of jealousy is becoming too pathetic. These efforts, you can actually diverse these efforts into fixing it, because I know from observing and reacting to them that they understand their problem. They know what their problems are. They just don't want to try the solutions because, frankly, the solutions are harder. The solutions require them to do some work. And the last time I checked, black folk don't really like work like that. Let's just be honest. They don't dig it like that. You know what I'm saying? Work is not something they embrace. So this is where we are. I'm trying to find some clips of this guy who is blaming us, this same Dennis guy. I clipped it somewhere. I'm just trying to find my notes so we can get to it. I need to do better with these. But let it play out while I look for it.
And so what that means is the civil rights discourse would remain rooted in the lived experience of the descendants of those who had to endure chattel slavery, not imported through academic abstraction or elite journalistic lenses. Black immigrants would have been confined to advocating for their unique immigrant trajectories, would not have been able to camouflage themselves in FBA pain to acquire prestige grants and global attention. Second, the infrastructure that FBA ancestors built under Jim Crow and post-Reconstruction and apartheid would have been protected from appropriation. HBCUs founded by formerly enslaved African Americans and abolitionists would have reserved enrollment and scholarships and cultural space exclusivity for our own lineage. Hell, even our Black letter Greek organizations did more. Our civil rights groups, our urban networks, they would have they would have looked at you sideways like, you're not even foundational Black American. Now, it would have forced these immigrant groups to build parallel institutions, or they could just rely solely on white folk and be pan-immigrants. Shout out to Lord Geotron. Infrastructure for social capital. Look, they wouldn't have had access.
So yeah, today I'm not going to litigate the Jim Crow stuff and who built America conversation that they've had. But here's the thing. Like I, for example, I didn't go to an HBCU because I don't respect HBCUs. I think your chance of success when you go to a school like that it's not formed around competition. They're usually not ranked well. They're mostly very underfunded. So if you're an immigrant child that is trying to go to universities in the US, the HBCUs is not usually your university of choice. I don't even know anyone that is sitting out there trying to go to an HBCU. This is why their enrollment rates are actually low. So there's still capacity for people to go. So even if immigrants go to HBCUs, there's still enough capacity for these guys to go to school. This is the argument that I've made. The will to go is just not there. It's not culturally there for Black Americans to pursue higher education at the highest level. I know this because I'm an academic. I taught these people. I taught them. The interest levels are completely different from real practice. So most of us just go to regular state universities. There's a lot of state universities you can go to that is not linked to HBCUs. And if you're in state, it's usually the cheapest way to go to school. I was an Illinois resident, so I went to Illinois State. You know, some people go cross state because of maybe how elite the school is. There's a lot of institutions of higher learning all across the United States of America. Enrollment numbers have been down and declining over the last 10 years. So there's a lot of capacity for anybody who wants to go to school to go to school. People just don't have the will. That is the problem. The problem is that people don't have the will. People also don't have the coaching, the background, and the mentoring to go to college. So Dennis, this guy is a lawyer. He could have been picking 10 FBAs underneath him to guide them through law school. That would have better served his community than sit on the internet and spew a bunch of hate against some immigrants that have become very successful in America. There's a lot of things these guys, Tariq cannot do this because Tariq went to college. They didn't go to school. But this guy went to school. So he knows the blueprint of picking a young black man and giving them the mentorship, even if it's paid mentorship. I don't care if it's paid mentorship. You should be picking people, including members, the guys that are paying your membership. You can convert that into a mentoring program. You know who they are mentoring? People, I found out today that Aunt CEO is on Minette as a mentor to people. A kid who was caught up in a crime at 17 years old. What is that kid gonna teach you just because he's on the internet speaking a bunch of xenophobic bullshit? Even he needs guidance. That same Aunt CEO guy needs guidance himself. He hasn't made it and he's 30 years old. I was already out of graduate school at 30. I was already in corporate America at 30. Didn't take me that long to do that in the US. So even that CEO guy needs that guidance. He thinks he has it because he has a social media presence. But if you look at his channels, that's not even enough money to build anything on. And when the views dry up, these men have built no skill. See, the Red Pill movement, the Negro Manosphere guys, have been reduced to content scale. All the money they can make is on social media. And now you're finding that they are scrambling. Austin Holloman, all these guys that took off in their 20 years old, 21, 22 years old, and CEO, all these men that followed Tariq, started YouTube channels and stuff. I've known some of them can have 100,000 subs, but they're getting 5,000 views per video. That can't pay a bill. So the algorithm is shifting away. And when the algorithm leaves you, they got no skill. I can shut this thing down and go about my business because I don't need this stuff. I don't take paychecks from YouTube. I haven't even looked at my AdSense balance in like months. That's why I take it out once a year. But these guys need that payout every month. Do you need to build skills? If you're a young black man listening to me, yeah, I say some mean things about your community from time to time, but the real talk right now is this content shit is not it. You are going to fail if algorithms shift a certain way, and there's only so many eyes you can compete for. There's so many people doing this, there's only so much eyes you can compete for. So everything is going to get saturated down. You're only going to have a very small core of people that listen to you or watch your stuff. Because they have to leave and go to work too. So you find that these Austin Holomans are streaming from 6 in the morning. You wake up, he's live at 6 in the morning in the US. He's live. And there are people on it. Those people, when they get jobs, they won't be able to be on it. And if you do it at my time, which is in the evening now, everybody's off, everybody's chilling. Some of you are working, but you have it just in your ear, you're listening. You don't have so much time to listen. So you come in and out, maybe you catch the replay, or you pick the little clips from time to time. But billions of videos are available every minute. And there's only so many people that are here. So the more your work hours expand, the fewer time you have to consume content. Eventually, that saturation affects the bottom line of the people that create this. And if you depend on this as a full-time job, you're not going to make it. When this dries out, you got no skill. You got to go back and work a shitty job. Like these passport bros that came back. When you are this young, then he's going to be fine. At least he's a lawyer. He can probably, not all lawyers do good, but he has a license that he can kind of tool around it and make a living. Okay, he can make a living. But a lot of these other guys cannot make a living when this shit dries up. And unfortunately, that's a lot of young black men. Now, let's see this intellectual that is blaming black immigrants for their L. their marital ills. Let's go to first start one.
Because the other black women expect me to be strong and black. It's just, instead of just saying I'm a woman, they throw that you got to be strong and black up in here. Those are the societal expectations. What else? The devaluation of black women's desirability. That can compound feelings of isolation and undesirability. Black women are known, they're not, look.
You saw you heard what he just said? That black women know that they are not beautiful, that they are not desirable. This is what he was saying about black women only 2 years ago. These are the men that have contributed to the deterioration of the black family, but they don't take any responsibility for their destruction and the damage that they cause. Look, and I'm sure the comment section is going to be, see, there's eye candy and there's eye poison. Thank you, natural state. My 3 aunties are in the same boat. No man's land. Sad. See, so sometimes they get some women to support them, right? But this is this guy, and I'll play it back a little bit so you can catch it. This is how they treated their women and how they spoke on their women. You know? Salute to you, Glitters.
The black women's desirability. That can compound feelings of isolation and undesirability. Black women are known, they're not, look.
See? Caught himself there. He said black women know that they're not the most, whatever he was trying to say. This is what he thinks of black women. No wonder he didn't marry one, I guess.
Black men find black women attractive in their most desirable state, in their most natural state.
So these are all those red pill talking points, right? This is where he was a few years ago. Let's see. Let's catch a few more of them.
You have a problem with the culture that is teaching you how to operate, how to interact with men. There is a problem there, and you need to address it. Now, I pointed out to you, hey, we got Dr. Amos Wilson. You got the link in the description. It explains to you that culture is supposed to solve problems, and we have problems in the black community. And who teaches the culture? The culture is passed down from mother to children. The mothers teach the children. The mothers teach the culture. The mothers do that. And so what does that mean? What that means is that we got a toxic culture that needs to be corrected. You hear with these women, you hear with those Latino women, they're Latinos. They operate by what? A culture called familia, which means what? Family first. They talk about respect. They talk about trust. They talk about loyalty. They talk about how shame is used to keep the family.
See, these things that they look at in other cultures and they project that they are also supposed to have the same. Women are not going to trust you if you're a bum. Women are not going to trust you to make money decisions if you're drunk and if you spend money like crazy and if you're going to the strip clubs, you're smoking weed, chilling with the boys. Your behaviors has made women distrustful of you. It comes back to what I've been saying. Their issue is a lack of accountability. They are the problem for the most part. It's not the women. Because other people can come from other cultures, marry these same black women in America, and have a successful family. It happened. I've seen it. And when they go overseas, these same men that are unhealed, aka the J-Relos, we see what they do when they go overseas, right? These guys grew up on the internet. These are the Manosphere guys. These are the this is what Kevin Samuels did to the black community. He destroyed them. A lot of the KS followers are the Tariq guys right now. I know that because I go to all their histories. When they create content, I go to their very old history to see their evolution, where they started from hating immigrants. Then at some point around 2020, you see their excitement for what Kevin Samuels was saying about their women. And that trickles down to them today. They're going to move on to something else because now they caught the immigrants' attention. We are heading them back, right? So now they're going to look at this and like, we got to go somewhere else because these guys are going to say some very sensitive things because we don't have any breaks. We're going to say it. We don't give a damn. You know, this is his attitude towards the same woman he's supposed to have built families with. The same guy that is blaming us. This is what he thinks about his own women.
Family to keep the women in line. That's what they do. And you
keep the women in line. What does that soundbite mean? Keeping women in line means that you're projecting physical strength over them. It's a code for abusive men. I don't need to keep my wife in line. I just have to hope that my wife remains beautiful and kind-hearted and raise beautiful children. I don't need to keep her in line. What are you keeping her in line for? She's not some pet. You know, she's not some pet. And this problem stems from the fact that the Black American men didn't learn from a capable man, didn't learn from a capable father, didn't learn from a capable man of exceptional ability or exceptional character. There's very few men like that. So these men grow up looking for answers every part of their life. Now they were looking for answers as to why they can't build relationship with women, but the Mexicans seem to be able to do it. The Africans seem to be able to do it. So they looked around and they pointed fingers at the women and they blamed the women and they got away with it. Now they're looking around and seeing why they're struggling economically, why they're not doing well, why they're not building skills. And then they're looking around and it's like, well, these immigrants are building skills. They're living in the suburbs. All of a sudden, the immigrants, the Black immigrants, which is a small minority, by the way, are now their problem. And they're forgetting that most of us actually, when we moved to the US, we used to root for these guys. Okay, I don't anymore. But I used to root for them. You know, I used to root for them. I didn't agree with a lot of things they do. I don't. For them, I think I've always opposed them ideologically. But if they won, I was happy for them. Nowadays, I'm not. You know, right now I'm completely not. I don't even go around there looking for good news stories about them. They're hard to find, you know, but even if I find them, I skip them quickly. You know, I'm not going to come here and sit here and give you a very good story about these guys. I'm not going to do that. And when I see it, on to the next. Give me the bad news. All right. So I played you this one. Let's see what else he's got.
You heard the women talk openly about how it operates. You heard about the man cheated on his wife and the woman still didn't leave.
That's what they are looking for. So what the submission and all the things they are trying to get is they can be drunks, they can be alcoholics, they can be underworking, they can be low achieving, low vibrating men, they can be cheats, sleep with all the women in the hood and expect Shaniqua to remain at home. This is what the red pill was looking for. Women that have careers, it's not going to work. It's not going to end up well. They're just not going to do it, man. This is why, and I've had some of them confess to me in live streams that you guys can see it on the other channel, where they say that they were showing their trips overseas when they started traveling overseas. They were showing their trips overseas to make Black women in America jealous. If you're showing it to make Black women in America jealous, then the Black women in America have already won. I agree with you. They have nothing to submit to. The Black women in America have already won. If you have to go back and show them receipts, they don't care. If they cared so much, they would have been with you. All they're saying is level up. If you can't level up, keep it moving. What is wrong with a woman wanting more and wanting better? Throughout humanity, that's what women have always wanted. When I went to see my wife's family to ask for her hand in marriage, the uncles, and because her dad has passed now, so the uncles and the brothers, they asked, what do you do, young man, for a living? The reason is they need to know so that they can establish whether you can take care of their daughter. You guys are trying to get that step. You're trying to get marriage on a discount. And you don't want to be submissive to the rules of marriage, which means that you have to be faithful and you have to be caring and loving, and you have to raise your children the right way. And you have to learn these things. It doesn't come natural to any man. You got to learn these things, man. Who told you that God gave birth to you and all of a sudden you're going to be a great dad? You have to learn, man. Every day is a learning process. Every day is difficult. When your children are sick, it's a difficult feeling. When there's an emergency, all of us that have been dads, we've gone through this. If there's an emergency, you have to act, and you have to act fast. You have to protect them. You have to guide them so that you get that result. That CEO guy, he went and did some shoplifting in Ohio when he was 17 years old. And he told his own story, but he's told it because he's trying to make an excuse that because you're 17 years young and dumb, so that should be something that shouldn't be looked back on. I'm like, no, motherfucker, that means you had a criminal mind. It doesn't matter even if you're 14 years old. Because my children are not going to do that and go rob a Walmart for some toys around Thanksgiving because daddy is going to buy them those toys. So that explains, this is why I said everything that I've said on the internet is factual. I read these people. I learn, like I study them. Almost 99% of the people that move towards Tariq Nasheed are people with criminal records or have had a disturbed past, or they were raised by single moms. They're just looking for answers. That's all they're doing. They're just looking for answers. So sometimes I really feel bad for them. I pity them because they will not find these answers. They don't have the power to even do anything. Even if all the stuff they can say about immigrants, they still will not have the power to do anything. And if they do anything that is violent, Massa is just going to lock them up. And they're going to go back to where they belong anyway. These people are very powerless. So sometimes I feel bad for them, you know. But we have to come here and push back and break down these lies, because they feed these lies to very uneducated people and they believe it.
Family, you ladies, look, again, as I said, as Minister Jap said, black women are not ready to compete with white women. Why? Well, he did the program. Kevin Samuel said black women are enemy. Black women's enemy is a Hispanic woman, meaning that's your greatest competition. Those are the women who are out here who are out here stealing your men away from you.
Hispanic women in America are not lining up to take black American men. What is he talking about? Once in a while, you get like a low-ranking Hispanic woman to be with you. Once in a while, you get a low-ranking Hispanic woman to be with you. Most Hispanics, guys, I speak Spanish. I'm very embedded in the Spanish community. I go to Spanish concerts. I hang out with Venezuelans and Salvadorians and Colombians here in the Dallas area. Salute to Kobe. The only time you get them is if you travel to Latin America. Over here, they're not walking around looking for black men to marry. The only time they marry black men is if they need green cards. They even laugh about this stuff. But these idiots don't know it. I know it because, like I said, I'm in their community all the time. You know, the Hispanics are like my second cousins. I'm very close to them. So I know at a man-to-man level, the things they talk about. These idiots are over here thinking that Hispanic women are so much into them. No, they're not. The only time the Hispanic women want them is if they've traveled there, and that's because of their money. And most of the times they settle for prostitutes. I know that for a fact, which I'm about to show you.
Why? It's a lot to it. And we're going to talk about culture. We're going to talk about it.
So if you go back to most of his old videos, he gets some of it right. He blames their culture and their people. Then some of the old videos, he kind of like goes, now he's saying it's immigrants' fault that their marriages are broken.
But in essence, let me kind of get back to where we are. I can drift off. In essence, the Dominican Republic's culture, with this blend of European, Taino, and African elements, it's not just compatible with, but it's deeply connected to traditional Southern Black American culture. Both cultures illustrate the beauty and resilience.
Salute to Kobe. Shout out to you. We are winning the war now. Yes, we are. We got him, man. We got him by the balls. We got him. You see them in the comment section on that Tariq video we did yesterday? They are scrambling, man. They are going crazy. Ah, they are going crazy, man. I told you this is how to work these guys, man. You know, I study the blacks. This is how to work them. Punch the same way they are punching. Say the most ridiculous things ever. Hit their most sensitive parts about them. Keep them confused and keep them scrambling. Like hit them from different sides. I hope Afridamos is gonna start coming back live again. I don't know what is going on. I'm gonna reach out to him and see. But we need a few dimensions to this stuff. Eventually, they're gonna change their rhetoric. Okay. Especially as soon as we get the feds on that motherfucker.
Of an enduring spirit of communities and is shaped by a confluence of diverse influences. Now, here's the thing. Somebody say no black. Somebody type no black in the chat room, right? Somebody type no black in the chat room. A lot of black Americans love to say, well, they don't think they black. Well, y'all don't think y'all African. Somebody.
Did you catch that? Okay, so this was 2 years ago. This man believed that he had African ancestry. This is why I said these are a group of men, mostly didn't come under the leadership of a father, didn't come under the leadership of an uncle that would be a mentor in place of a missed father. A lot of these men, Dennis's age, they were a product of the crack epidemic, or they were borderline participants of it. So they are in the world on their own, which it should be very sad. And they could have really learned a few things from their connectivity to the African continent. They could have reclaimed a few things. But their superior mindsets didn't allow them. Like they just couldn't hold it together. This is why only 2 years in, he's done a full, complete ideological shift. My ideology as a conservative has never changed since high school. I've remained conservative since high school. I don't switch ideologies like that. And it actually shaped what I decided to study in school and in college. Like what the ideology that I built is what I kind of built my life around. And I still live by to this very day. These guys go through, every 2 years, they move on to something else. They keep switching and switching and switching. So they are centered, confused, looking for answers. Today, this yellow man is blaming black immigrants for poor marital rates in the black community. We don't really come into contact with these guys for us to be. So is that not admission that they are so easily influenced? That is also sad. Either way, whichever way you look at it, it's sad. It's either you're submitting to us, so you're easily influenced, or you're just lost. I believe the latter is true. I think these people are just lost. They need a little bit of guidance. And even more sad is that they have to raise children. And they have to teach these children. And if this is what they're teaching people on the internet, these children have no chance. These children have no chance, man.
Room, right? Somebody type no black in the chat room. A lot of black Americans love to say, well, they don't think they black. Well, y'all don't think y'all African. How many black people in America say you African? Y'all refuse to say. Matter of fact, y'all got religions now saying you indigenous. Isn't that what y'all say? Me no black. That's what black American people say. I ain't black. I'm light skinned. I'm mixed. I'm mixed with Indian. That's what y'all say. That's what you say. But the facts are this, and this is what I want you to understand. The genetic tapestry of the Dominican Republic is as beautifully interwoven with the threads and are remarkably similar to those of African Americans. And what this does is it illustrates a shared lineage that stretches across continents and centuries. Just as many Black Americans trace our ancestry back to a blend of African, European, and indigenous roots, Dominicans likewise, and it embodies a rich genetic mosaic. The genealogical DNA, the studies highlighting their Dominican genetic makeup indicates that it consists of European, Sub-Saharan African, Native American ancestry. Okay. And that echoes back to the journey that Black Americans took. The African.
So these guys, even though they are looking around the world for answers, I think traveling to the DR, playing with the chicas, helped him understand, get some clarity. Okay. It helped him get some clarity. But they also said Ramadan, a kid of cheeseburgers. It helped them get some clarity. But like I said, because they don't have that base, they're very easily moved. You can convince them to do anything. They're very movable parts, these people, right? They're not like the Africans or the Caribbean people. The Caribbean people have a clear understanding that they have an African ancestry. They live in the Caribbean. They got there through some sad stories. Okay, they admit that. But they have also built a national identity, regardless, depending on what country in the Caribbean that they find themselves in, with their own national anthems and their own cultural things. But whenever they do carnivals, they do everything in reference to their African roots and their African ancestry. This big Brazilian carnival in Rio de Janeiro that all these Black Americans go to, that they enjoy, the Afro-Brazilians that have influenced this have done it due to their connection to the African continent. The Palenque festivals that I go to, I'm about to go to one in June in Colombia. That is Afro-Colombians that are inviting me to the Palenque festival. This is what a global Black unity was supposed to look like. How come I have no issues with Afro-Colombians? They were also a product of the transatlantic slave trade. I think they had it even worse and still have it worse now. Like Colombia's Afro population right now is still increasingly poor, and their poverty numbers are even going up and up and up. But they don't show any disrespect towards Africans. When I went to a Colombian home in Palenque, they even served me yuca, which is cassava, and in a way that looked like how Africans did it. And their welcome approach was just similar to what we do. If you transcribe that to North America, none of us will even make it a second in a Black home here. I don't know any immigrant that has been invited to a Black American home to eat dinner. I've been to more white homes and Hispanic homes in the US. I've never been to a Black home or a Black apartment. Never stepped foot in one. Never been invited. So you have to understand how these things are shaped up. And that is because this is what they are culturally. They are not a very welcoming group culturally. It's not a bad thing. This stems from just living in the West. Most Western people are just not welcoming people. Okay? It's just, I don't say this as a cheap shot. That is very true. Western people are very individualistic. This is just how it works. The ones that are welcoming and integrating and like to learn different cultures and languages and how people do things and embrace other cultures, they have to learn that. They learn that maybe through having a roommate in college, or having a teammate at a sports thing, or having a best friend in high school that was from a different country, or from traveling overseas. This is why I said traveling would have fixed a lot of their problems, but they were traveling overseas for chicas. They were not traveling overseas for some cultural expedition. Okay, and I'll show you why. Let's see if we can find some of it.
Hope everybody's having a great weekend. I had a great weekend. It's Monday for me. Chilling with my lady on the beach. She's a wonderful woman. I told her I like her cooking better than eating out, but I've been eating out a couple of days. Can't wait to get back home to her cooking. You got a lady, man, make sure you got a good one. You got a good one, man. Make sure you treat her right, man.
See, if you're somebody that knows this region of Latin America like I do, this is a worker. Okay. So even when they go overseas, they pay. All right. Hugging and kissing a street worker. Salute to Rainbow the God, man. Shout out to Rainbow the God. See, everything Nana says is true. I'm the realest on YouTube, man. When I do research on these guys, everything connects. It just connects, man. It connects. Okay? We did not destroy their families. Shout out to Mr. Danso is in the house. We didn't destroy their families. They did. This behavior, this is why he couldn't keep 2 marriages. Because he could not stay in line. He wanted to, like what he said, he wants to keep the ladies in line. He wanted to take control, be able to cheat, so the women still remain. These men are disturbed, man. We are dealing with deranged, sick men that are looking for answers in the world. They cannot find it. And it sucks because they have an audience now. They're going to teach all these young men this bullshit.
Don't let the ones that did you wrong, mistreated you, neglected you, cause for you to treat the next one wrong, man. Women can do that, but men can't. You gotta set those emotions aside and be smart, select wisely. You gotta get back out there, man. Life is about living, man. I've lost so many friends this year. One thing about being alive is that's the most important thing, man. So get back out there and try, fellas. Anything else you want to say? Y'all be cool, man. So I can do I'm out there enjoying the beach.
Yeah. They know, the ones that know how to work the camera like that. Oh yeah, these are all, threw some money on it. Yep, 5 years ago. I don't know if this was after divorce number 2. Somebody says a true inspiration. I told you this is how they influence these boys to be PP boys, right? You guys, people don't understand the power of influence. Sometimes they come in, why are you doing this? Why are you doing? You don't understand the power of influence, man. You can shift people in the right way. For me, it's a win if one person moves or changes their views on things, and the things that have worked for me, I share it openly, that I believe strongly that if you apply it, it might work for you. I've done my job. The other side of the show is when we push back on their bullshit, okay? Those of you that were in my live stream when I talked about shorting oil, if you did, you probably made quite a bit of money. I made $7,000 on that shit, That's more money than I've ever made on YouTube, right? Some of you did. If you made some money, good for you, right? Some of you didn't because maybe you didn't jump in it so fast. But I put it out there. It's one of my many things that I do. And it may have helped somebody. But this is our guy.
In American women. So they travel the world where they say the women are still willing to cook and clean while keeping it sexy for their men. They hit countries like the Dominican Republic, Brazil, and Jamaica, just to name a few where they say the women still know how to treat their man while remaining a thing of beauty. Joining me to talk about this live on The Factor Uncensored is Houston attorney, reality show creator, and rapper Dennis Spurling. Also joining us is Spurling's good friends, Vondrick Christmas and Dion Dorsett. Welcome to The Factor Uncensored.
What's up, Isaac?
Now, here's the thing. I've been reading your Facebook posts for years, and this is what you've been espousing. You're saying, I need to leave this country to find a good woman.
So if you look at Dennis Spurling, like what he's doing, right? He's doing to the FBA movement the same thing he did with the Passport Bro movement. So he ideologically shifts into something, and then he uses the fact that he's an attorney to take a front leading role, to advocate for it, and to get points for it. That is what he's trying to do with Tariq Nasheed's stuff. Only that with the Tariq things, his views are not doing as great as the other creators are doing. The only reason is that the Tariq group are looking for guys that are very, very ridiculous. And being a lawyer doesn't really fit that narrative. The tariff group is looking for lost men, often men that haven't gone to school, don't have anything going with their lives, they don't have a career, they've never done anything hard. So Dennis Spurling doesn't fit that profile, and he's trying so hard to get into it. This is why the last few videos are starting to seem more ridiculous. But he also has to be very careful because he has a law license and there's certain rules that he needs to abide by to keep that license in check. Unless he doesn't want to work as a lawyer ever again, which most of them do. If you do family and PI law as a solo, most of them tend to not make it. You know, like some of them struggle to make $50,000 a year. I swear to God. My wife is a lawyer. I know this profession very well. And mostly the ones that went to Texas Southern, they don't have good test scores. They don't have a good network because that law school is usually just black attorneys, so they're not really well connected like that. They really struggle professionally. See, like my wife's group of attorney friends, they're like 80% white. Okay, white, experienced, savvy attorneys. So when she built around people like that, you know, a few black folks in there here or there, but when she builds around people like that, that is why they can work for organizations like Chase Bank, Freedom Bank, and all these other big corporations incorporate that these people will never even get an interview in. These dentists will never get an interview in places like that. They have levels to this thing, man. So maybe he doesn't care about his law license. But if he doesn't, sure. I mean, he could keep doing this. But like, I agree with that. I think he failed real bad. But this guy took a leading role, went to Isaiah. He does a lot of shows about trends, social media trends in Houston. And he took Aaron Farris's job, technically, like advocating for men to go overseas.
See, first of all,
no backtracking
really
now. No backtracking.
Like that, man. We don't need this smoke, man. We don't need that type of smoke, okay? What happened was, I got divorced, and I looked around and I said, you know, I want to change. You know, and I never really traveled. I went to school. These guys went to school with me, and they know all we did was study. And so I got married. That didn't work out. I got divorced, and then I said, well, you know what? Let me get a passport and see what that's like. So I started traveling overseas. I went to the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, all over London, Europe, things that I had never done before, and I liked it, and I liked what I saw, and I enjoyed myself. And when I did decide to date, I got treated like a king, so I go where I'm celebrated. You know, and that's basically it.
You're not celebrated here in the United States like you want to be.
Okay, see, what had happened was I got divorced, you know, but I'm going to be honest with you guys.
Yeah, he got divorced because he was not a mature man. He was not a man of exceptional character. So these women sometimes just can't withstand bullshit. And she took off. So out of being pissed, he joined this everything that they are doing is out of some shit that happened to them. Okay, he got pissed. And this is why he became a passport bro. Sitting on TV talking about, you know, with a lot of letting these people, I guess the guy on TV don't know that the countries he listed, he was paying for prostitutes.
Facebook posts are real, but really they're the feelings that a lot of African-American men and men in general feel. They say, look, the juice is not worth the squeeze. I work all my life, I do everything I can to please my wife, and then she divorces me. 70% of marriages are brought to divorce by the women in those relationships. So clearly people aren't happy. Look at the marriage rate. Look at the depression rate that we have. I think people need to get out a little bit more. But more importantly, you know, it's something that I like. These guys, I know that they don't feel the same way I do because my Facebook page has a diverse group of guys with different ideas. And so this is just what works for me, you know?
And so what works for you guys?
So I would say that early on, I felt very much like Dennis felt. I was like, I didn't feel celebrated. I felt like...
Here in America.
Here in America,
with
right?
American women.
I'm originally from the Bahamas. And so I've grown up in America.
Oh, so this guy was hanging out with some tethers, right? What a sad state, bro. What a sad state.
America, and I go home, I travel home, I see how things work there, I see how things work here.
For those really quick who
Yeah.
don't know how things work there and how things work
Okay.
here, what do you see here first, and then what do you see there?
So let me tell you what I thought I saw. I think there's a difference, right? You come from a perspective and you don't have any background. So back home, I saw where the woman was there. She cooked, she cleaned, she was always there. She was always present. She took care of the kids. And so here on the other side, I'm expecting to see the same things. But I think that there's some dynamics that I never took into account because I wasn't old enough to understand the dynamics that were happening around it, right? I wasn't aware that, women were now in positions to where they could work more,
Right.
they could provide for themselves, they could be independent. And so it's that thought process that kind of got me away from where I was with this guy to where I am now.
And that is the right approach because that is never going to change. Women are going to have jobs now. So you have to have what I call a blend of traditional and modern. Do I cook? No. My wife does all the cooking. But when I feel like cooking, I cook. And they enjoy my meals, actually. They wish I cooked more. But I don't do it as a power play. I just do it because I take on a little bit more work and I have a little bit more complexities to what I was doing. And when I worked for Halliburton, I used to not be at home. I used to travel a lot. So now that I'm remote, I should maybe take on a bit more cooking. But I also do a lot of the house repairs, housework, things around like all the oil changes. You guys saw me last week when I did the live stream. Every Sunday, I go through her car. I get it ready for the week coming. I don't just let them figure it out, but I do all that stuff. So there are little roles that we've kind of devised that make it feel or seem more traditional. But the overarching goal and what I'll share with young men that are watching is the way I've made this work all these years is you have to have it deep within you that your primary objective is to help your spouse. You have to. Because, if you're not helping her, then you're really enslaving the woman. Then if she's going to be tired, then that's when you start getting the I'm tired, no box today, no box tomorrow. Then that'll fuel a bit of your frustrations, okay? Also, you have to make sure that you are employed and you have to stay employed. This is also why I say a job is a job, but if you can put together a good combination of side hustles to hold the line even when you're not employed, that's good enough. But build skills that can make you employed and stay employed. While you're employed, do not relax. Keep building skill. Keep growing your skills because that is the only way you separate yourself from the competition. Then build the protective layers. So your savings game has to be top notch. I have a very serious savings game. I promise you guys a video on it. I'll do it one day in the future. I do promise you that because I'm not going to gatekeep that. But I have very strict savings game. My wife uses the same methodology and it works for us beautifully. We both max out on retirement accounts every year. This year it's been increased to $24,500. So we got to max it out again. So that is $50,000 off the bet in retirement. Even if that retirement account doesn't grow, we have $50,000 that gets saved every year in retirement. Whether we want it or we don't even see it. It just goes in there. It's a percentage of the salary. So it just goes in there. You have to spread it out and sometimes play with the numbers mid-year if you have very high salary so that you get all the employer match. Because if you put, let's say you make $200,000 a year and you put 20%, you're going to blow through your total contributions by October. So if you blow it through by October, the 401k contribution will stop. Your employer will also stop matching you. Your employer is only going to match if you contribute the minimum pay cycle. So you have to do the numbers to know your percentages, when to adjust it, and adjust it all the way through the last paycheck of the month, of the year, so that you get every free money that the employer gives you. So again, in our cases, if you add an employer contribution to it, then we have almost $70,000 saved every year. Now, for guys like us that have worked 10 years plus, that is with the growth of your retirement account. This is why I come here and I say, like, we got close to $1 million in retirement accounts. This is the math right there. That's how you get there. All it needs to grow is 3% for you to be a millionaire. So you and a spouse maxing out your retirement accounts for 10 years, if you stay employed, will automatically give you $1 million in retirement. Then you can now worry about net worth. So you got a retirement side sorted out. Maybe start lowering debt. That 10-year lifespan, if you're really employed and you're not spending money crazily, you should be able to start lowering your debt and maybe eventually get completely out of debt. Okay. Which is another thing that I promise you guys, we haven't done it because we've been dealing with this stupid ass FBAs. But we'll go to our book of the month. I'll find some time sometime next week. We're going to review our book on your money or your life. I want to see where you guys got to in reading, what you learned. And if you have any questions for me as you read it and what you're about to implement in your financial game, okay? I'll help you guys through this. I'm really good at this stuff, man. It's not even a joke. Really, really good at it.
Now, where I recognize everything for what it is.
Right. Well, I think I'm a little different from both of these guys because I'm not from abroad. I'm from here. I haven't traveled to London, Jamaica, and things like that. But I have came across some women that does still do those things. They still cook, they still clean, but they just require a little bit more of a man, and then it depends on what type of man
is anything wrong with that?
Nothing.
Requiring more?
No, it's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just, those expectations seem for some guys maybe a little bit much.
I argue all day.
Now, if you look at all these three men and the reasons they gave, who is the sucker in the list? Who is the confused child here? Yellow man. Yellow man is the most confused guy here of all the three. This guy, my friend here on the far right, says that if you want those things, you can find them in America. That is absolutely true because they are still these same Dominicanas that Dennis is going for. They live here in New York. They are here in the U.S. They are immigrant women here in the U.S. that believe. I told you when we started the stream, the Mexicans are doing it in the neighborhood. A roofer is with a hardy that will bring him food every day. So it's happening here in America, right here. Okay? Quitters are the ones that typically just up and leave when they face any obstruction. And this is typical across everything they do in life. Okay? This guy struggles as an attorney, as a PI attorney. He runs a solo firm in the hood for a little bit, gives up on it, becomes a YouTuber. Okay. Becomes a passport bro, tries to be the face of the passport bro. He identified as African American in this live stream, and then all of a sudden he's FBA. He's gonna move on to the next, into the next, into the next. They are not, this guy cannot be a focal point. This explains why his marriage failed. I bet these two other guys, their lives are so much better now than this idiot. We should probably look them up and check their LinkedIns and see how well they're doing. Because I guarantee you they're going to have much better outcomes than Dennis here.
And I don't have time to come home and argue.
And so that's what you get with
I don't
you perceive to be an American woman.
I think that American women, they have so much pressure on them that it's nearly impossible for them to fulfill those traditional roles that women have fulfilled all the way up until the 50s when industrialization and it's impossible for them to do that. So the culture.
And that is one of the biggest lies. In developing countries right now, women have jobs too. Some of the best performing students in my high school were women. I have women friends that are medical doctors. I was just helping my friend who is a medical doctor in Maine and his wife yesterday. They were doing some immigration paperwork. So I had a Zoom with them. I was helping them through the paperwork. They are both medical doctors. They have 4 children. They both work shifts, opposing shifts. One works nights, one works days. They're making it work. They're making it work. I don't buy this bullshit these people are saying. These people took advice from Kevin Samuels that had never been married. They see, marriage is one of those things that if you're a man and you're looking from the outside in, before you join the club, you think you have all the answers. And then when you come in and you see that it's much complicated than just dating a chick, you start to respect the men that have done it and done it longer. These men were not ready. They were not taught to do this shit. They thought they were going to be guests working their way through it. And as soon as they face them, I ask, why do you think when you come home from work, you're going to be arguing with your wife? For most marriages in the US, when you come home from work, your wife will be coming home from work too. So nobody has time to argue. We are both tired. Can you have some disputes or talk over things that are there? Arguments are part of the discussion. These people just want a woman to shut up and not have an argument.
Tu recuerdas mi canción?
Caliente. Magnífico.
That's a different chica from the one that he just showed us. And it's all around the same time. So he was paying for bucks in the DR. Okay, he was paying for bucks.
A stolen people on a stolen land will never have peace. And this is something that I've been saying for many years now. It's something that I determined. A stolen people on a stolen land will never have peace. And this is something that I've been saying for many years now. It's something that I determined based on my readings of history and the lessons that were passed down to us by great leaders like Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Even Dr. Martin Luther King realized that he had integrated us into a burning house. So says Mr. Belafonte, Harry Belafonte, his friend, who recalled the conversation he had with Brother Malcolm. So when I see more black men being killed by the police, when I see them being choked out like this man recently in Minneapolis, shot down in her house while she was laying dead like this poor young girl, Mr. Aubrey, the brother who was shot in Georgia, I recognize that you're not going to have peace in this country. It's impossible. It goes against the laws of physics. It goes against everything history tells us about a servant class of people who become free in the land in which they were former servants. It's the reason why the Israelites had to leave Egypt and get to their own land. It's the reason why in real life the Jewish people had to leave Germany and had to have Israel established so that they can have their own land that they can defend. It's the reason why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we need to separate from our people. It's the reason why Marcus Garvey said we had to go back to Africa. These knowledgeable people, these brilliant people, from biblical scholars to historians to politicians to socially conscious.
So you guys see ideologically how this guy has evolved. This is all happening in 5 years. This is how much change he's done from Elijah Muhammad to Pan-Africanism. You can't make this shit up, man. These blacks, bro. I'm telling you, man.
All right, everybody, get excited. CW39's hit reality show is back.
At this point, I want to be a better father. I'm not going to change how I feel, and I'm willing to fight for my kids.
Well, co-parenting with the Spurlings is serving up a new dose of reality starting this Saturday. And we are getting real, like we always do, with Dennis Spurling himself. Thanks so much for waking up with us.
No problem. Thanks for having me. We have a great season coming up. We have some great folks on. Coleon Noir is going to come on and talk about gun rights and gun activism, but also, more importantly, gun safety. Because this is Texas and this is Houston and this is part of our tradition. And so co-parenting with the Spurlings is not just about the Spurling family, but it's about Houston. It's about Texas, about family values and what we cherish here in this state.
Well, speaking of family values, you have a new baby mama.
I have a
You knew I was going to ask.
There's a woman that I am co-parenting with.
So you have two that you're co-parenting
I have
with.
my lovely, wonderful ex-wife, Stephanie, that we all know.
lovely, wonderful ex-wife. I've never heard that in one sentence before. These boys are lost, man.
And then I have my child by my former fiance, and
He fitted. He was fitting the stereotype. That's what the uncle was trying to push on. Like, hey, so you got the 2 baby mamas now. Over here talking about black immigrants destroyed their marriage statistics. Look at him. Look at how he is behaving. Look at how the man is behaving over here, blaming us immigrants for their L's in terms of family. That's the family he's constructed.
the relationship didn't work out, but there's a child.
Now,
And
how
so
are the boys? How are they doing with a new baby in the mix?
they're enjoying it. You know, it's my job to foster a great relationship between my sons and their brother, because they're all my children and I have to treat them with the same degree of love and respect. And so as a father, that's my responsibility. And I don't allow myself to be one of those men that cop out and say, well, I'm going to take care of these because they're easy, as opposed to, you know, and I'm just going to forget about this one because it's hard.
So this is when he's still trying in the US before he gives up. After all this nice talk he said on radio or TV, he dips out and he starts buying prostitutes overseas. He's a piece of shit, man.
Whatever financial responsibility you have, emotional ties you have to develop, and sometimes you have to fight for that.
Yes, and we're actually going to talk more about this, and I'm going to ask you some hard questions like, did she give the ring back? You know, baby mamas, are they going at it? You never know. There's always drama. You never know, but get excited. Make sure you tune in. It's starting this Saturday at 11:30 a.m. It's perfect timing. You can watch it before college football, right?
You can.
Yeah,
That's
it's
exactly
perfect.
right.
It's perfect.
So this idiot he was trying to make some TV appearances, man. He tried. I'll give it to him, man. So this is a guy that is over here talking about immigrants are the reason why black families are not together. You know, look, this is the spin and the cycle that this yellow man has done to us today. Nana doesn't lie, man. You guys saw it. I played it. You saw it. I think I want to do I don't know if I can come on tomorrow, but on Saturday, I think we're gonna do a panel, and then we'll break down. I'll play one more video, and that I think that should be the end of our. So this is a song. So that's 1, 2, 3. I'll play one more video. We'll wrap this up, and we'll do a panel sometime this weekend.
I want to talk to you all about something that is also part of the problem when it comes to black men being disparaged, when it comes to our reputation. What you will find is that black women commonly disparage black men in public to the point where it's almost as though they don't notice. It's so common. And, you know, this is one of the main problems that we have. Now, earlier, you saw me put up.
So how is that our problem? I think I've done enough rebuttal. You guys got it. You know, if you find them saying some shit somewhere, let me know. KF, I don't think I'll have time for that guy's video. I'll catch it tomorrow. Oh, not tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday. I don't think I'll stream tomorrow. I'll catch it on Saturday. If it's worth the response, I don't know. You know, some of these guys, they're trying to stay relevant. I want Tariq Nasheed. I don't want these little guys that are, you know, just here to waste my time and to kind of diffuse attention. Right? That's the goal. The goal is to take the heat off Tariq, and I don't want to do that. I want Tariq to get all the smoke. So anyway, thanks for coming in, good people. Y'all have a great night, and we'll see you back on Saturday